So with that being said, if you understand the 4 challenges that keep you from your 2 objectives, the minute you see them, you can do something about them. There are 4 things that keep most people from hitting those 2 financial goals. Let's talk about number 1 first. Number 1 is inflation. Inflation basically means every single day the cost of living is going up. Now, we call inflation the silent income killer, and here's why. It's not something that you really see because it sweeps in every day of your life. So we don't really pay it any attention until it mounts up. So most Americans don't understand this, but your dollar is losing value every day. Think about it for a minute. If gasoline, for example, has taken a serious increase over the past 10 or 20 years, who would agree? So I can give the gas attendant the same $20 bill I gave him 20 years ago. 20 years ago, my tank would fill up, or at least get 3/4. The same $20, same president, same sheet of paper, same color. Today, I give the man $20 and my car will spit it back out. Right? That's like an appetizer. So that's inflation. Inflation basically means if everything else is getting more expensive, but your money is about the same that it was 10 years ago, you're really losing what? That's why it's called a silent killer. In other words, if you're making $7 an hour 20 years ago, and you're making $14 an hour today, do you know you're really still making what? $7 an hour. So people struggle in America because they make more money and they can't understand why they can't get ahead. It's because inflation is growing faster than your pay raise. Does that make sense to everybody? So what we have to do is, the first thing we have to do is put our money in things that outpace the silent income killer known as inflation. So here's a new understanding I want to give everybody. One of the few ways to get ahead of inflation is you have to become a business owner. Here's why. A business owner can determine how much money they want to make when they want to what? Make it. A W-2 has a hard time keeping up with inflation because we have to go to somebody else and say, hey, you know gas is more expensive, don't you? So did your boss come in and say, you know what, we know things are getting steeper. Let me give you a little bit more for your trip to work. No, you just got to, here's your salary, here's where it is, and everything else getting more expensive, but we hope you figure out a way to figure it out. A 1099 says, you know what, everything else is more expensive, so I just need to raise the price of my goods and services a little bit and keep up with what? Inflation. Who remembers when a Big Mac really was big? Who remembers when a number 1 at any fast food restaurant, a number 1 typically was $2.99? Everybody agree? Now, go to any restaurant today and just look at what a number 1 is. First of all, Big Mac is now Small Mac, and they want $4.69 for the Small Mac. When 10 years ago, it was $2.99 for the Big Mac. That's inflation. Everyone has figured out that we have to keep increasing the cost of goods and services in order to stay ahead of inflation if you're a business owner. W-2s have not figured out that you'll never get ahead as long as you stay a W-2. Does that make sense? So the second thing I want to talk to you guys about, challenge number 2, is taxes. Very important. Now, if inflation is the silent income killer, taxes are that's the chainsaw massacre, right? It's not even a secret. Now, here's the thing. See, inflation creeps in. Taxes says, look, I got you. Now, people say, Brian, what do you mean? I don't understand. We have to pay taxes. This is not a tax avoidance presentation or tax evasion. What I found, though, wealthy people don't overpay taxes. People that are struggling, they overpay taxes. Let me explain this to you. Real simple. You already have a ton of taxes. Property what? Taxes. Sales what? Taxes. Ad valorem what? Taxes. All these different taxes. You can't control those. You can't say, you know what? I know this candy bar is 99 cents, but I want to just give you $1 too, not $1.06. She's going to say, man, you got to pay your taxes. But you know the one tax that you can't control? Your income taxes. You tell the government how much to take out of your check. Now, here's the problem with most Americans. The minute we decide that we need to bring extra income into our house, we start to do what's called budgeting. There's nothing wrong with budgeting, but budgeting will not fix your problem. Here's budgeting. Man, husband, wife, sit down. Let's look at where we are overspending. In other words, let's stop eating out so much. That's cool, right? If we take food or take lunch to work every day, will we cut back? Absolutely. Makes sense, right? Let's look at whether or not we can carpool. Is that a good way to cut back, right? So there are different ways to cut back. But you know what people never look at? How much am I giving away to the government? People never look at taxes as one of the things that they need to what? Cut back. That's one of the first things you need to look at, because if you're a W-2, honestly, 30% of your income is going to Uncle Sam off the top. So write this down for your notes. You work for the government from January to April. A lot of people say, how? Well, think about it. If they take a third of your income, that's basically a third of the year. Make sense? A third of the year is for what? 4 months. So from January to April, you primarily work for the federal government. Now, if they came to you and said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take all your money for 4 months, but then you'll start getting paid in May. You'll be like, no. So what they do, they take the whole 12 months and they just ration out 30%. And then by the time it's all over and done, you basically worked for the government for 4 months out of the year. Now, this is not a tax evasion presentation. I want to make sure this is clear. This is not how to get around taxes. This is not do not pay your taxes. This is do not overpay your taxes. Let me give you an example. Most Americans get what's called a tax refund. A tax refund means that the government took 30% of my money throughout the entire year. And then next year, they're going to give me a percentage of what they took and call it a tax what? Refund. That's why it's called a refund, guys. I went to college on this one now. Re means again. Everybody got it? So anything re means again. Fund means your money. So we're going to give you your money again that you had the first time. That is a tax refund. So a refund means you overpaid your taxes last year. The government went and invested all of our money and then gave you some of your money back. Now, who can tell me, pop quiz, when you get your money back next year, what ate into it already? Inflation. So not only did you pay the taxes all year long, the government said, here's a percentage of it back, and it's really worth less than it was last year because you waited a whole year to get it. Now, again, it's nothing wrong with a W-2. I always tell people in our group, be thankful for your job. You'll never hear me bash a job. I hate presentations that do that. Job just over broke. Job. I'm like, no. Imagine not having one. Then you tell me how much you appreciate your job. So let's not get it twisted. I just like for people to understand a W-2 mentality and how it works. Because my friends always challenge me on this. Brian, I don't believe what you're saying. I say, okay, don't believe me. Let's look at your pay stub. What's your gross? The gross is everything you earned. What's your net? The net is what you took home. What's in the middle? Taxes. Social Security, federal, state. The government gets paid before you on a W-2. It's designed that way. Problem number 3. Debt. Now, a lot of people know about the importance of getting out of debt, but they have no idea what debt is really doing to them. First and foremost, taxes cause debt, right? If you're taking notes, that's an important thing to write down. See, if the government takes their money off the top and you've already established a certain lifestyle, then they know you're going to have to go borrow the difference in order to catch up with the lifestyle that you had. So in other words, if I'm making $50,000 a year and the government is taking 15, I really take home 30 what? 35. But in my heart, I make 50. Not in my bank account, but in my heart, I make 50. So it's no problem. There's always somebody willing to what? Lend you some money. You remember in the good old days, it used to be tougher to get money. You had to have good credit, show some credit history, show some job stability. Now, they send you offers in the mail. Hey, we'll give you a credit card, sight unseen. And what do? We've now established a society where getting credit is just the way to go. Oh, it's no problem. I'll put up my credit card. Oh, it's no problem. I can finance the car. I can't really afford a BMW, but this guy says I can, so I guess I can. And that's what has everybody thinking that it is okay to borrow money. Always remember this. The borrower is slave to the lender. That's the bottom line. Here's what I tell people. See, on the borrower's balance sheet, the car and the credit cards and the student loans, those are liabilities. But on the other person's balance sheet, you are an asset. Every month, this institution getting money from me. So they like, yeah, their balance sheet got assets for days. Your liabilities, your balance sheet has liabilities for days. And I always ask people, when we add up your assets, does your asset column look anything like theirs? And then we wonder why they are rich. Their asset column is longer than their liability column. So for your notes, write this down before we close out. You work for the banks from May to August. Because you have to end up paying back the third that the government took in what? Taxes. You end up paying back another third of your income to banks. So debt, problem number 3, is a huge, huge detriment to your financial freedom. Again, we're talking about the things that keep you from hitting your 2 goals. Do they make sense so far? You can't have inflation going sky high every day and your money's the same as it was 10 years ago. You can't have taxes coming out to the tune of 28 to 33%, and then you get a refund on the back end and inflation took a third of that. And you can't have credit cards, student loans, 3 and 4 car notes in the garage, a huge house, nothing wrong with these things, but you want to get them the right way. Here's what I told a good friend of mine. I said, you know what? There's nothing wrong with nice cars. I had a Porsche when I was 22 years old, so I'm not standing up here flossing like I'm all that. But as I got older, now that I'm 38, here's what I told a friend of mine. You can go get the Porsche and the Bentley and all of that and can't afford it, and you can look really good in your state. Or you can drive a Honda or a Toyota, and we can hang out in Europe 3 times a year. Or you can get, a Toyota Camry, and we can go to Egypt 2 or 3 times a year and hang out in Australia 2 or 3 times a year. See, it just depends on what your priorities are. Some people want to look real good at home. And some of us want to use that money instead of giving it to the bank so we can enjoy the what? The world. Does that make sense? So it's a choice. And then problem number 4, less than ideal cash flow decisions. The little bit that we do have left, which is the final 1/3 of our money, we give away to big business. Now people say, Brian, how do you give it away to big business? Well, the calendar is set up to always make sure you participate in big business. Now, what does that mean? I always tell people, the big 3 rob you of the final third that you have left. Remember, the government took the first what? Third. The banks took a second what? Third. Now here comes September to December. And guess what happens now? The final third of the year, your money is going to go into what I like to call participation. So let's look at it. We happen to be shooting this video in the month of December. Now, let's not act like you don't have to participate. You have to participate. December 24th is known as Christmas what? Eve. Nothing wrong with Christmas. 'Tis the season to be jolly. For all y'all to celebrate Christmas, I don't have a problem with Christmas. But I'm just telling you, this is how capitalism works. Before Christmas Eve even hit, we had Black what? Friday. Black Friday. Then Monday's a new one called Cyber what? Monday. Cyber Monday. So we're going to go to Walmart and kill each other Friday. Okay? Trample people. People die at retail stores. That's how big this marketing is. To get some stuff that they normally cannot afford. Then Cyber Monday going to come, and we're going to get everything online for Cyber Monday. So everybody just got rich off your desire to have something today. Now here comes Christmas Eve, 24th. 25th is what? Christmas. December 31st is what? New Year's Eve. So we're going to party and celebrate like it's 1999 or whatever on December 31st. January 1st, New Year's, right? Everybody going to wake up now and set financial resolutions. Right. Now February is going to roll around. Mess around on the 14th and don't have something for your boo. And tell me how that's going to make you feel and her feel or vice versa. Now here comes March. March, all the kids going to spring what? Spring break. Here comes April. Easter typically falls March, depending on what's happening, calendar year, March or April. May, Mother's what? Day. June, Father's what? Day. Now, we're not going to even talk about prom and graduation. That's been happening. You must participate. Prom and graduation, May and June. July, 4th of what? July. August, all the kids go back to what? September, what? Labor Day. You really think they're giving you a day off, or they want to give you a day off because what is everybody going to do on that extra day? Travel, spend what? Money. You guys have to understand, the calendar in capitalism is designed to make sure you keep participating. That's why we keep making less than ideal cash flow decisions. So everyone understands 2 primary objectives in America. Real simple. Our labor pays for our current lifestyle, and our investments have to pay for our future lifestyle. The problem is there are 4 entities that beat you to your money. In capitalism, all they did, they just outsmarted you. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just understand when the country was set up, it was designed for wealthy people to put things in place to stay wealthy and for people to contribute to their wealth. Now, I don't have a problem with that because that's the country we live in. My thing is, don't try to change the rules. Just become one of the what? One of the wealthy. Now you can help give back to the people who don't understand the rules. And that's what Extra Digit, that's what we do. We help people who don't understand the rules understand what it takes to get wealthy by first acknowledging why you're not wealthy. Everybody understand? So now it's time to talk about the 369 financial transformation. These are the 3 solutions that everyone in America must do if you want to flip this situation around.